I cannot be silent.
Back when Eisenhower was the president, golf courses is where most of his time was spent. So I never really listened to what the president said, because in general I believed that the general was politically dead. But he always seemed to know when the muscles were about to be flexed, because I remember him saying something, mumbling something about a military-industrial complex.
As I have walked among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, I have told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles would not solve their problems. I have tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my conviction that social change comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. But they ask, and rightly so, what about Vietnam? They ask if our home nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problem, to bring about the changes it wanted. Their questions hit home, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government. For the sake of those boys, for the sake of this government, for the sake of the hundreds of thousands trembling under our violence, I cannot be silent.
Each one reach one, each one time.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone's got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit say work.
I cannot be silent.
Empowering the body, mind, and spirit. This is We Cannot Be Silent with Phil Restino and Larry Pinkney.
And you are listening to the United We Strike Radio Marathon for June 14th, 2014. And for anybody out there who did not recognize that 2.5-minute long intro piece, we're going to do We Cannot Be Silent with Phil Restino and Larry Pinkney. And today they have a special guest, but I'm going to turn it over to Phil to do the introductions. Phil, take it away.
Why, thank you, Gary, and thank you to Matt Navarro, Karen Tostado, Tim, and everyone else there at UnitedWeStrike.com for putting on this monthly radio marathon. Again, the marathon itself is broadcast the second Saturday of each month, and tonight's broadcast, we're coming to you live Saturday, June 14, 2014. And the show's name is We Cannot Be Silent with Phil Restino and Larry Pinkney, and Larry and I have been on the air for about 2.5 years now, and we've got a very special guest, Reverend Edward Pinkney of Benton Harbor, Michigan. And Reverend Pinkney is a big-time activist and community organizer, and he is the founder of BANCO, which is the Black Autonomy Network Community Organization. And for those of you who are listening, I want to suggest, if you're at a computer, to pull up the site as we're proceeding with the show. It's www.banco.org. And there's all kinds of information on what Reverend Pinkney's been going through lately out there in Benton Harbor, namely being charged with election fraud following his own investigation into the local election fraud out there. And Larry Pinkney has been following the events out there in Benton Harbor with the Reverend quite closely over time, and we're going to let Larry take it from here and introduce us to Reverend Pinkney and take the lead. Larry, are you with us?
Of course. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Gary. Thank you very much. I want to thank the United We Strike, all of you brothers and sisters out there taking care of your business, all right? I want to go right into this right now. We have Reverend Edward Pinkney, and he's my brother in the struggle. Other than that, I guess we're not related, but he is definitely my brother in the struggle. He's all of our brothers in the struggle, all of us. He belongs to all of us, and we belong to him. Anyway, Reverend Edward Pinkney has been engaged in a fight against corporatism, corporate control of Benton Harbor, Michigan, for well over a decade, and I mean well over a decade. And for that, he has received every kind of despicable, nefarious action against him conceivable in one's mind by the authorities in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Let me just call it what it is. It's apartheid, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Time to change it, time to change it, time to change it. Can't allow this. We must not allow this to go on. As Phil pointed out, bottom line is the authorities have once again trumped up charges against Reverend Edward Pinkney, and he is standing up to it, okay? But he must not stand alone. He must not stand alone. At this point in time, I'm going to go right to Reverend Edward Pinkney. Reverend Pinkney, I know you're there. Thank you for joining us on We Cannot Be Silent.
Hey, thank you. Thank Phil and the whole group, Larry, and I guess this is a tremendous opportunity to be on this show. And I tell you, I am ecstatic to be here and to tell this story. But I will go the way you want me to go. How should we start this story?
Let's start it by you giving a very brief description of what is going on in apartheid, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Yes, folks, I said apartheid. All right, some people like apartheid.
You're exactly right. I'm going to say this. On April 24th, it was my wife's birthday, and I took her out to dinner, and we had an early dinner. Matter of fact, it was 11 a.m. Before we can get to the next town, which is about 30 minutes away, my house was surrounded by the SWAT team. That's correct, the SWAT team. They had blocked off the streets, blocked off the community, and they was coming to get me. All for a recall petition. Signatures. So what I did was this. After I got all the calls, people calling, telling me my house is surrounded, they got the SWAT team, don't come home, whatever you do, they might be trying to kill you and all this kind of stuff, I decided to go talk to my attorney, who gave the prosecutor a call. The prosecutor told him that there was a warrant for my arrest. They said they're charging me with forgery on a recall petition. Well, they said that I had changed the dates on a recall petition, but it wasn't true. The fact of the matter was they had to figure out a way to charge me with something. They had to stop this election. Their mayor, the Stooley, who works for the corporation and not for the people, was being recalled. And he was losing this election 5-1. So they had to go and try to pull a rabbit out of the hat. So they figured if they go after me, that I wouldn't have the money nor the finance to fight them off. Mm-hmm. So what they did do, all night long, they was driving up and down the street looking for my car. They had 4 or 5 police officers, and they had that big SWAT truck that goes in and says, now remember this, Benton Harbor is not that big, but they knew that I was somewhere inside Benton Harbor. So when my lawyer talked to them, he informed them that I would turn myself in on Monday. It was Thursday then. They said, absolutely not. We want him right now. And my attorney said, well, you probably won't get him right now. So we said that I'll turn myself in the next morning. I turned myself in, went to court, The judge set the bail at $30,000. Now, we're talking about signatures. We're not talking about anything else. $30,000 cash, which is ridiculous. Even then was ridiculous. But then he took it even further. He put me under house arrest 24/7. That I could not leave out my front door, could not go to the garage, that I was going to be inside this house. Then he took it even a step further. He said that I could not use the computer, that I had to call AT&T and have my computer cut off. And that if I didn't have it cut off, it would be a violation of my $30,000 bond. And then he even took it further than this, Larry. He said even my wife couldn't use the computer.
Oh, my God.
We all know that's very unconstitutional.
Yes, of course.
But it make it so interesting, you see, they thought they had completely neutralized me. But unfortunately, it was just the beginning. So I went out and hired this attorney who immediately got on top of this situation. We had a hearing. We call it a preliminary examination, where the prosecutor produced his evidence to support his claim. He brought in a forensics guy, and it was just ridiculous. It was ugly. The forensic guy told him that he could not say whether I did anything wrong. He also said it would be virtually impossible to say that I did anything wrong. But yet and still, they brought the SWAT team to my house. So now, the judge didn't find enough evidence to actually bind me over at that time. But the prosecutor got up and said, we do not have enough evidence to actually take this to trial. But in the state of Michigan, this is what he said, and we know it's not the truth, that you don't need evidence to bond a person over the trial, which is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. But it gets even better. On June 5th, we went back into the courtroom where the judge ruled, even though we do not have the evidence to support this, even a conviction, we're going to bind him over for trial. Because most likely, we're going to have an all-white, he didn't say this part, I'm saying this part, that most likely we'll have an all-white jury, and we'll probably be able to convict him. So that was the whole thing. You see, Benton Harbor is a town controlled by Whirlpool Corporation. Whirlpool Corporation is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It has a monopoly on all the washer dryers, stove, and refrigerators. And what they do, they control the city. They control city government. They control the school. They control the courthouse. Nothing goes on in this community without Whirlpool pulling the strings. On every board, there's a member of Whirlpool, and it goes on and on and on. They just built this Jack Nicklaus signature golf course, and it's surrounded by these million-dollar condominiums. The average income here in the city of Benton Harbor is about $12,000 per person, which is peanuts. That's living below the poverty level. 70% of the people are unemployed. You got 90% living below the poverty level, and the city is 94% African American. So that's where we at today. That's what we're doing, but we're fighting them. We don't give up. Matter of fact, we had called for an international boycott of all Whirlpool products, and we were pretty successful because Standard & Poor's rated Whirlpool a negative, where they gave them a negative credit rating, and that really affected them. So they had to go once again and pull a rabbit out of their hat. But it gets even better because we're living in the times now where these corporations are making people suffer and you don't have to suffer. All you have to do is be a good neighbor. Do what you're supposed to do. To me, it's so simple. I don't even understand it. Pay your taxes. Pay your water bill. Whirlpool have refused to pay taxes and their water bill here in the city of Benton Harbor. So we're suffering. But from there...
Well, brother, go ahead.
Now, from there, you can ask me some questions.
Well, you know, it's very obvious, and I hope our listeners are paying very close attention. There is a reason that I refer to Benton Harbor, Michigan, as apartheid Benton Harbor, Mississippi, Michigan. All right? The reality is that people like Judge Sterling Schrock, that's S-C-H-R-O-C-K, and prosecutor Mike Sepik, S-E-P-I-C, which I really think should be Mike Septic, as in a septic tank, but that's beyond the point. The reality is that everyday ordinary people, be they black, white, brown, red, or yellow, are paying a horrible price. And as you pointed out, Reverend Pinkney, 94% of the apartheid township of Benton Harbor, 94% of the people there are African American, black Americans, all right? It's no coincidence that this has been going on and on and on and on. When I say this, I'm specifically referring to the persecution of you, Reverend Pinkney, and quite frankly, the persecution of all people who are striving to survive. The median income being approximately $12,000, and yet they build condominiums, all right, million-dollar condominiums that they know that the community cannot afford. But we know what that's about. That's called apartheid. That's economic apartheid. So I want to say this, Reverend Pinkney, very quickly, please tell us you are in need of funds, money. That's right, mola, dinero, whatever you want to call it in whatever language. But you see, those who are trying to carry out this apartheid, believe that they can get away with it because people will not be cognizant, will not be aware of what's going on. We disagree. We think people will become aware. Reverend Pinkney, Reverend Edward Pinkney, please tell people where they can send funds. I think that we need to raise at least $10,000 to $15,000 to make sure that you are able to have a halfway decent, not only defense, but it's time for the people of everyday ordinary people to go on the offense. Brother, please, Reverend Pinkney, please tell people where they can send funds and to do it now. Where can they send them?
And here's the deal. We're on our way to the appeal court, and we need money immediately. We cannot be successful without the resources to fight this battle. So I want everybody, if you can send a check to Banco, that's B-A-N-C-O, 1940 Union Avenue, Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022. That's Banco, B-A-N-C-O, 1940 Union Avenue, Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022, or go to bhbanco.org. That's bhbanco.org, and you can donate right online. It's crucial that we get the funds, the resources to fight back, because this is a real war. This is no conflict. This is the real deal. And I tell you this much, we're going head-to-head, toe-to-toe, and chest-to-chest with them to show them that we're here for real and we're going to stand up to them. So, those of you out there who can send a few dollars or whatever you can send, please donate. Go to bhbanco.org or mail a check to Banco, 1940 Union Avenue, Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022.
That's right. That's right. I would urge all of our listeners to not only do it themselves, but to please pass this program on to others. Let people know Reverend Edward Pinkney is today in the 21st century our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it is time for us to stand up, come up to the plate. The battle that's being fought is a battle for all of us, black, white, brown, red, and yellow people, everyday, ordinary, plain, struggling folk. That's us, all right? We're talking about us. That's the 99% versus the 1%. Time for us to take care of business. Reverend Edward Pinkney, my brother, you know, I want to thank you for coming on the program. I want to thank you for making it very clear what is going on in apartheid, Benton Harbor, Mississippi, Michigan. And I want to thank you for the struggle that you have been waging against these corporate bloodsuckers, and in particular, the corporate bloodsucker that has its headquarters there, Whirlpool Corporation in Benton Harbor, Michigan, that controls the judicial system, the police system, the so-called educational system, and everything else down the line. I want to thank you for having the courage, the integrity, and the for realness to stand up. We need you. We love you. And I urge the entire audience, the listening audience, please take action, spread the word. I want you to go, and I say I want the audience to go online also and to simply Google the article entitled Fighting the Corporate Dictatorship in Michigan. Again, Fighting the Corporate Dictatorship in Michigan. It came out this month in June. Please go Google that, read it, find out. We need to stand up, one with the other, two with the other, 10 with the other. Stand together. Reverend Pinkney, Reverend Edward Pinkney, we love you. This battle has only just begun. Remember that song by the Carpenters? We've only just begun. Well, we've only just begun.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you, my
absolutely.
brother.
And you know what, Larry?
Yes.
People need to know exactly what's going on. See, it's not really just Benton Harbor. It's all across the country. The point is, the people are not fighting. You see, they're sitting back, want other people to fight, and they don't want to get up and fight. So it's crucial that people understand, if everybody can help. You can help financially. You can even be on the battlefield. Everybody can do something, Larry.
And I did have a question for you before you leave, Reverend, but go ahead, Larry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead,
okay.
Phil. Go ahead.
I did want to ask Reverend Pinkney, and I see there's help from the sister city there, Detroit, Michigan. And both cities have a very significant black population. And I see on the top of the page of bhbanco.org that Banco is there exposing economic and social justice, working for economic and social justice, and exposing state and local NAACP corruption. I think some of the listeners who wouldn't know the situation there as you do, could you explain, a lot of us would think, gee, the NAACP would be right there with you and helping this fight, and it appears by that statement that that's not the case. Could you elaborate a little on that?
You are absolutely correct. The NAACP was bought and sold by Whirlpool. I was the president of the NAACP. And Whirlpool went and met with the state NAACP and told them that they wanted to support them financially, but they would not support them under my leadership. So the state NAACP drew up a plan to get rid of me. The first thing they said, we didn't have any meetings. We was having meetings every twice, sometimes 3 times a month. Then they said that we didn't have election. They had the election on file. But what I did, I took them to court and sued them. I filed suit against them for $150,000 just to show them that they're not messing with the kid down the street. So the NAACP, they stride on corporate dollars. If they have to choose between me and the corporations, they're going to choose the corporations. So those of you who are out there who think the NAACP is this, they're not. Matter of fact, we got over 10,000 people to burn the NAACP card. Burn And that's why right now they're in trouble. Ben Jealous was forced to resign. They said he resigned, but he was forced out, all because of what we were doing, and their membership has declined. And it's going to continue to decline because people are going to begin to understand who the NWCP really is. It's just a corporation-based organization that fights for corporation needs and not the people. So they're out of touch with our community.
Thank you.
If you don't
mind, thank you. Go ahead, Phil.
I think we still have a couple of more minutes, Larry, and I did have a couple of questions that remain for the two of you. I know that, number one, a quick answer would be both you fellas do a program together entitled Pinkney to Pinkney. Is that something that is a podcast, or is it something that folks can tune into and listen live?
Absolutely. You can tune into it every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can call in at 347-994-3644. It is called the Pinkney to Pinkney Show.
And to find it on the internet, and I'm going to have one more follow-up question, to find it on the internet, Reverend or Larry, where would folks go to get your show?
Go to blogtalkradio.com/Reverend Pinkney.
Great. That's great. And folks, I encourage you all to tune into that. The other question I had is to Larry. Now, as many of you know, Larry is a veteran of the Black Panther Party, and a lot of the same tactics were used back then to weaken, if not totally disable, what the grassroots work that was being done in the community. And Larry, how did y'all in the Black Panther Party try to counter what's happening to the infiltration and the buying up of groups like the local NAACP there in Benton Harbor?
We did precisely what Reverend Pinkney, Reverend Edward Pinkney, is doing. And that is, we went to the people. People need to understand, and I want to go back to this thing of the NAACP, that even back in the 60s, all right, before Dr. King was assassinated by this government, okay, before that, before April 4th, 1968, the NAACP was not, and I repeat, was not a strong and coherent supporter of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. So this is nothing new. Understand that. Now, on the other hand, you did have the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. You had the Student Nonviolent and Student National Coordinating Committee that were, in fact, strong supporters of Dr. King, and the Black Panther Party had enormous respect for Dr. King. But the fact of the matter is we have Reverend Edward Pinkney in apartheid, Benton Harbor, Mississippi, Michigan, who is fighting a battle, and we cannot allow this person to fight this battle by himself, or just the few folks that are in Benton Harbor, all right? We got to understand that this corporate blood-sucking is going on throughout this nation, as Reverend Pinkney made so clear. This is not just about Benton Harbor. Benton Harbor was the, how can I put it, the preface, if you will, for what has been done now to Detroit and what they're planning to do to other major cities around this nation. So Reverend Pinkney is considered not only a threat by Whirlpool Corporation and the blood-sucking psychopaths there in Benton Harbor, apartheid Benton Harbor, but he's also considered a threat by the oligarchy, that's to say the power elite throughout this country. We must stand up and support him, because it's not about just him, it's about us, U.S., us. So that's how I answer that question. We go to the people. In the Black Panther Party, we say all power to the people. The man's technology is not stronger than the will of the people. The will of the people is stronger than the man's technology. Let's make that real. Let's make it real. So I'm going to end now because I know we have another guest, but I just want to thank wholeheartedly Reverend Edward Pinkney for being on our program, on our show. We cannot be silent. I want to say, as we've said back in the past, a luta continua. The struggle continues. It is not only continuing, but it is intensifying. We love you. We respect you. We support you. Come on, folks, out there in the audience, please get up and send some support in financial terms, whether it's $1, $10, or $10,000. Send it now, because we do need this. Reverend Edward Pinkney and the sisters and brothers, black, white, brown, red, and yellow, need it right there for all of us. Thank you, Reverend Edward Pinkney. Thank you, Reverend Pinkney, so very, very much.
And thank you for allowing me to be on the show, you and Phil, and I really, really appreciate it. And I know you don't have any more time, but those of you out there who can send some resources, hey, you can join the $1 club, the $5 club, the $10 club, the $50 club, the $1,000 club, the $10,000 club. But please send something. That way we have some resources to fight.
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Reverend. Thanks for being with us. And again, folks, that's BH Banco, BANCO.org, and you'll have all the information on how to help, background on the struggle there, and information as well as to lead you to the radio show that Larry Pinkney does with the Reverend. And so please do something. Click the button, donate a few bucks, whatever you can, and maybe you could do something extra. One more thing, send it out to your email list, put it on your Facebook, whatever. None of us can do everything, but we all can do something. So thank you, Larry. Thank you, Reverend Pinkney.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit said work.
I cannot be silent.